Here's integrated 3 is problem 6-53. It says, as part of a lesson in survey design, Jeanette asks her study team of 4 students the following question. Given the association between movie violence and crime, what kind of movie would you rather watch, romantic comedy or action? All 4 indicate they would rather watch a romantic comedy. She states in her conclusion, obviously, romantic comedies are the best. So for letter A, it says, if the population of moviegoers is actually equally split between those who prefer romantic comedies versus action movies, what's the chance of finding a group of 4 who unanimously prefer one genre over the other? And is it plausible? So you might not remember this from integrated 1 or 2 when you learned it, but when you have stuff that is equally likely, like you have it equally likely, it says it's equally split between romantic comedies and action movies. So that would be just the same thing as like a coin toss, because a coin toss is equally split between heads and tails. So if we assume that we have this equal split here, you could do it with, I don't know if you remember these, you could do it with one of the tree diagrams. So remember there was 4 people in her study group. So if she asks the question to the first person that she asks it to is either going to say they like romantic comedies or they like action movies. And it's a half and half chance, and the reason we know it's half and half is because the book is saying that there's an equal split there. It's actually the same exact picture that you would get if you just were flipping a coin 4 times, because there's only two answers. They either like romantic comedies or they like action. So then she goes to the next person. Well, the second person she asks, it could be that the first person said romantic comedy, and then the second person can say either romantic comedy or action. Third person, here's a third person. So like the first person, that's this. It's just like coin tossing. If this doesn't make sense, just think about it as I tossed a coin 4 times, because it's the same kind of things are happening here. So the probability, if there is an equal split between people who like action movies and people who like romantic comedies, the probability of all 4 people liking a romantic comedy, this one right here is the only outcome that has all 4 of the people. Like this is the first person, second person, third person, fourth person. In this one, maybe 3 of them like romantic comedies, and then the other one liked action. And you can see, you go up the branches of this tree diagram, and every time the probability is a half, because there's only 2, there's an equal split, so it's half and half. So if you remember, you don't have to actually draw these tree diagrams. You can just multiply the probabilities. A half times a half times a half times a half is 1/16, because 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. If you did draw the tree diagram, you'd see that there's only 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's only 1 out of 16 outcomes where all 4 people say they like romantic comedies. So what this is asking is, it's saying, is that plausible? And if we look at our mathematical model, 1 out of 16, that's not very plausible. Like 1/16, what is that? 1 divided by 16. That's like a point, or it's like a 6% chance that you would find a group of 4 people that all liked romantic comedy, if there's truly equal split between romantic comedy and action. So I'm going to say no, it's not plausible. And then letter B says write some sentences commenting on the validity of Jeanette's methods and her conclusion. So her conclusion was obviously romantic comedies are the best. But I see a whole bunch, I see bias, I see all kinds of problems with this. We learned this, I think, in chapter 4. We learned about this stuff. So my first problem that I see is that the sample size is too small. Sample size too small. She only asked 4 people. That's not really good enough. The other one is that she has bias in her wording. She said she starts it out with given the association between movie violence and crime. So it's making it sound like if you watch movies that have violence, well, then you're going to maybe commit some crimes. Um, so what would you rather watch? Romantic comedy, which implies no violence and maybe we're not going to have crime. Action normally does have some violence, so she's kind of like persuading just by the wording here. She's kind of persuading them to want to answer a certain way. I'm just going to say biased wording. Um, by prefacing, Prefa. She prefaced her question with this talking about crime and violence. Hopefully you'll write it a little nicer than that. So that's something that's wrong with it. Anything else? I don't know. We'll look at the answer key and see if they have anything else for us. Let's see. How come I can't find the answer key? The answer key says her study provides no reliable evidence of her conclusion because she uses her sample size is too small. She only had 4 people. Her question has bias because of the preface about violence and crime. There may also have been a desire to please the interviewer. Oh, yeah, she used I didn't say that, but she used a closed question. She only gave them 2 choices. Like maybe they didn't really like any of those, so they just chose one that they didn't like because the one they really liked wasn't there. Even if there's no real preference among moviegoers, it is plausible that 4 people will have the same opinion between any 2 types of movies. So, I mean, you can write it how you want on these. Try not to worry too much about how you answer these kinds of problems. Just any answer is correct as long as it kind of makes some sense. It doesn't have to be like the answer key.